So, hello again, and welcome to another weekly sit and brief talk on meditation. So, I want to talk a little bit about feeling tone today. This is such a central component to human life. From the moment we're born, there's joy and fear of everything that life entails. We're born into human bodies which are ripe for every possibility, whether it be connection and acceptance and warmth and all of the joy that can come from that. And then on the other side of it, there's fear, discomfort, the unpleasantness of just being in a body which is very vulnerable. And this is just part of life itself. It's actually part of the beauty of being alive, is this capacity to feel. And it took me over 30 years to realize that there's no way to get all pleasant feelings all the time. And trust me, I tried, you know, through some healthy ways and unhealthy ways. It's a natural thing to want to be accepted, to want to be connected to others. But then I started noticing ways in which I became really dependent upon, first of all, the approval of others, you know? It was almost like my own well-being depended. And I mean, this is something that I still deal with today, depended on how others perceive me. And if I'm accepted, joy, feel connected, everything's good. And when there's moments when I don't feel like that, isolation, things aren't well, something's wrong with me. And that took me down a path ultimately of, addiction, chasing the pleasantness, the escape from the inner critic through drugs, through alcohol, and trying to find some way to constantly feel the pleasantness of not being self-conscious in some really basic way, not feeling the fear, not feeling anxiety. And ultimately that led me down a really destructive path. And it took me until finally finding meditation to find a more skillful way of dealing with the pleasantness, the unpleasantness, or the neutral, the boredom of life, sometimes just wanting to check out because things aren't quite satisfying or exciting enough in the moment. So meditation is a means of beginning to sit down and becoming aware not only of what the feeling tones are in the body, whether they're pleasant, whether they're uncomfortable or displeasant, or whether they're just boring, neutral, and becoming aware of not only of those tones, but also of the relationship that we might have towards them. Is there grasping towards what I want? Am I continually living in a way that I'm trying to somehow get that all the time? Or am I allowing the pleasantness to come and go and enjoy it when it's there, but not cling to it? And the same thing with the unpleasantness. Can I accept when I'm afraid? Can I accept when I'm nervous? Can I accept when there's pain in the body without trying to constantly navigate away from that? And ultimately what can come from this is there's a different kind of joy that can arise through actually the awareness, being aware of the emotions themselves, through being present. There's a more subtle, and ultimately a more freeing way of being with life's experience of being with feeling that is subtle, but over time can start to grow into something that is sustainable and more, just ultimately freeing. And it's subtle at first, But over time, the freedom of that awareness through not being pushed around and pulled by feelings can be it can be a way of that we can be in this world through life, with life as it is, without being constantly pushed and pulled around by things. And in that, there's a different kind of a joy, which isn't dependent on getting things just right. So, just noticing right now, if there's any feeling that's coming up as you're listening to me, and taking a few slightly longer breaths, if that feels comfortable, and allowing the back to be upright and the body to be relaxed. You can close your eyes if that feels supportive. Just being aware of the body breathing. Allowing the breath to just be natural. And just taking a moment to recognize the support of the ground beneath you, or the cushion or the chair that you're sitting on right now. It's becoming aware of your body's contact with your seat. Letting the gentle rhythm of the breath support the mind in being in the present moment. Now taking a moment to be aware of the head, just noticing if there's any tension in the scalp, the forehead, or even in the mind and the brain. And just noticing if there's any pleasantness in the head, any unpleasantness, discomfort, or if there's just nothing there at all as you soften and relax the muscles of the head and the face. And also the neck, top of the neck, the back of the neck, the throat. Softening, relaxing, and noticing if there's any discomfort, pleasantness, any feeling there at all. And moving down through the torso and the arms, just feeling the midsection of the body, softening the arms, letting the hands rest, and letting each breath release the tension from the torso, softening with each out-breath. Just noticing any sensations in the torso or the arms, which might be pleasant. No need to do anything, just noticing. Or if there's discomfort or unpleasantness. Just noticing that and allowing it to be without pushing or pulling or reacting against it. And moving down, opening into the legs and the seat, this lower part of the body, softening with each breath and allowing awareness to rest into the legs and the sit bones and the feet. And just noticing if there's any feeling there. If there's anything supportive, anything pleasant, any unpleasantness, or if there's no feeling at all. And just opening into a full body awareness of the body breathing. And with the rhythm of the breath being a steady support for the mind, noticing any mental qualities throughout the body, which might be unpleasant, uncomfortable, and allowing them to be. And the same with the pleasant, just allowing and beginning to notice if in this practice there's any joy which arises through not being reactive, but simply being present. This more subtle joy, which isn't actually dependent on any feelings being a particular way, but from awareness itself. Just beginning to notice the quality of being aware, however you're experiencing that right now. Because this awareness itself, although it may be pulled into unpleasant feelings or pulled away by the pleasant feelings, or distracted and bored by neutral feelings, the awareness itself is open, is receptive, and is always here for us. And in this last minute or two, just noticing any joy and freedom which is coming from this, and taking a minute to share this with all beings. In this life, there ultimately is no separation between us and others. Sharing any joy, may all beings be free. So thank you for taking the time to be still, to sit, and to be present. And I wanted to, at the end of that meditation, highlight this more subtle joy that comes from awareness itself, from the awareness that isn't pushed or pulled by the feelings, because it's this awareness itself which can become free from the conditions of life. Because as I was saying earlier, there's no way to make it through life without getting a barrage, sometimes a barrage of unpleasant feelings, or controlling when or how or why pleasant feelings will arise. So it's the subtle joy which is to be encouraged in meditation. This is a more, sometimes it's called an unworldly joy. It's not dependent on things being a specific way. And this is encouraged in meditation practice and can grow. So as I was saying, we live into a world where not only is it constantly changing, but we also, especially in this modern world, live where there are many forces at work to condition our mind and our hearts in very specific ways. And some of the things I'm thinking of off the top of my head are things like social media. This is just a great example in a way of looking at the way that they can capitalize on getting you to come back for pleasant feelings, right? With posts, getting likes. This is something I notice all the time, right? Make a post, this is what I did yesterday, these are whatever it was, the people I was with, or this beautiful place I was. And when I come back to that phone and I open the app, there's almost an anticipation of, how many likes is there, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it, really, right? And there is a certain joy out of it. But again, it's like, am I going to base my well-being off of keep coming back for this? Like, there's no way I can find any kind of sustainable joy out of that. So it's just something to be aware of because things like that can also be addictive. Why do I keep picking up my phone when I have an open moment? Because there's partly in the back of my mind, maybe I'm going to get this little dopamine hit from off of that, right? So we have these bodies that are wired naturally in kind of a beautiful way for these feelings of joy, right? Dopamine, serotonin, endorphins from running or exercise or whatever. And again, this is like part of the joy of life. But, okay, here's an example like endorphins. Beautiful thing, quit a workout, makes the body feel good. There's a kind of a stability, can make the body feel good for the rest of the day sometimes if there's a nice healthy exercise. But I've also been through times when I've gotten hooked on that feeling of working out and done it to the point where when the body's sore, I want to keep going for a run just so I can get the joy out of it. And my legs are hurting or whatever it is. So again, there's like this attachment. I need that. And I think it's something to be really leery of in terms of unpleasant feelings too that can come up around not getting enough likes, not liking the way certain posts are received maybe in social media, not feeling like I'm living up to what I see as society standards of who I should be. This is something that I personally struggle with too. If there's always a better version of myself that I'm trying to live up to, then I'm constantly with this unpleasant feeling of lack, of not being enough. And I can start to say, well, I need to push and be better in order to not feel that way. But again, if I'm constantly trying to navigate my life being pulled around by trying to get pleasant feeling all the time and push away the unpleasant, there's really no rest in that. There's no ease. Because no matter what I do, someone might not like me, or I might not be received in the way I hoped I was. Doesn't mean that I stop trying to be connected to friends and family or to, try to be of support to other people when I can. But I can also know that all I can do is my best, and that ultimately I can't find permanent satisfaction in this impermanent domain of feelings themselves. So this is what it comes down to. Feelings can change. I can't control the nature of the feelings, but I can control my reaction to them. And in this awareness of feelings, there's a freedom that starts to come about where it's possible to move through the day, again, with more fluidity, regardless of if there's pleasant or unpleasantness there. The awareness itself, this joy that I was talking about earlier, becomes a stable refuge, returning to the awareness itself. And over time, the awareness begins to become more and more clear and present and supportive. So this is what I want to offer today. And this is a gradual process. But it's definitely worthwhile just taking the time to notice. So this is something to just notice in daily life, in meditation and throughout the day. When there's the pleasantness or the unpleasantness, how am I reacting to it? And can I be with it and experience the joy if it's there? Can I experience the pain or the discomfort if it's there? And not react to it. Let it flow through. So, this is what I offer today, and thank you for taking the time to sit and to listen.